So Vanakkam. So we will continue our lecture on engineering seismology. We have been discussing about the earthquake prediction. Okay, so we have seen why we need to predict a earthquake. So we have also seen the earthquake prediction reliability and how people are basically looking at a earthquake prediction. So we also seen that the first effective prediction is happened in China in 1975 for the Hai Cheng earthquake of magnitude 7.3. So which was basically identified first by the unusual animal behavior, because the animal has a extra the eye level so perception sensor is than a human being. Okay, so some animals are better in sneezing, so sniffing, some animals are better in hearing, some animals are better in seeing. So okay, so which is we don't possess. So we have seen that basically the Chinese try to observe the thousands of frag crosses the road near the epicenter, and then followed by they also observed other precursors, okay, such as a water level and radon gas release, and then moreover the foreshock also they found, and then they issued warning saying that there may be going to a earthquake in this location soon. Okay, so then that was successful. So where the after 6 hours there was a big magnitude of 7.6 occurred. So the similar way they also predicted a big earthquake later stage, but which was not happened. Okay, so which caused a lot of wrong prediction impact. Okay, that we will be discussing in the next class, the future this one. So the similar to animal behavior in China, which is not very new. Okay, all over world there are several places unusual animal behavior has been reported. Okay, it should be mentioned that abnormal behavior of animals prior to the devastating earthquake was noticed earlier at a different location, but the using that predicted was happened in only China. So in Japan, large number of rats were seen every day in the restaurant in the Nagoya city, which suddenly disappeared on the evening prior to the Nobi earthquake of 1891. You see the period, it is 1891. Okay. Similar observation about the rat was reported at the two earlier occasion of Kanto earthquake, see 1923, and San Kirikou earthquake in 1933. So even the China predicted only on 1975. Okay. So in even Chinese literature, unusual behavior of rat was reported before 1969 earthquakes. So in 1835, dog escaped from the city of Talcahuano in Chile before the earthquake struck the city. The flocks of birds flew inland before the Chilean earthquake of 1822 and 1835. Monkeys became restless few hours before the Managua earthquake of in Nisargarga. Okay, so these are all the places where people reported after the earthquake. These are all the unusual animal behavior they observed, okay, before the earthquake. So but they reported after the earthquake. So then the hens and cocks were reported restless about the hour before 1896 Raikia earthquake in Japan. So similarly the birds zoo started crying before 1963 earthquake. So the deer gathered and cats disappeared from the villages on northern Italy 3 hours before the damaging earthquake up in 1979. So these are all the observation people have made, but they noticed and told after the earthquake. So just before earthquake which has occurred in 1906, San Andreas fault, horses whined and cows stampled, and other even areas they say that cow was automatically milk. Okay, it milked suddenly without even attaching the milk machine or the milky by the man. Okay, so all those the restless behavior of animal and cattle and large animals are so howling of dogs. Okay, so all those things are reported many earthquakes. Okay, so this abnormal behavior before an earthquake also been noticed several places, particularly India too. So these animals, okay, so basically animals who live underground like snakes, insects, worms, those who are living in water, fishes. Abundant fishes were caught in the just before 1896 earthquake in northwestern coast of Japan. So there is a unusual fish movement in the sea. Okay, that is also reported in the Japan. So Tangzhou earthquake 1927, however, Kanto earthquake fishes were reported to have disappeared. So some earthquakes even the fishes are run away from the fishing area. So these are all the unusual behavior being reported in this one. So just before Edu earthquake in November 11, 1895, okay, the many grass snakes were reported to come out of the ground near the epicentral area, even though it was severe cold winter. Very unusual behavior of dogs were reported just before a Turkey earthquake in November 28, 1976. Okay. So India too, people are observed animal behavior, unusual animal behavior. So which is like unusual behavior of animal with respect to the earthquake was noticed early in 1892. Okay, during the British ruling, animal were noticed to sniff the ground and exhibit nervousness, and such as a dog shows a presence of the unaccounted object in the ground, like it's like try to scratch and try to excavate kind of things. So the time the Govindpur, okay, Manbhum in February 1892, during the recent earthquake of Uttarakasi, Latur, Jabalpur, Chomali, Bhuj were also isolated cases, unusual animal behavior being reported. Okay, pet dogs and all, house people told that the dog was continuously barking, he tried to pull away from the location also. So the extensive research being carried out all over the world about the unusual behavior of animal. With respect to the prediction of earthquake, China, Japan, 4 runners of this record. US also shown keen interest in the unusual big animal, useful to indicator of the earthquake prediction. So the earthquake prediction whatever I am discussing here actually, which is actually the taken from the website given here. Okay, so this is not my own content. So I thank people who are provided this material in the website, which has been taken and used for your teaching. Okay, so you can also refer those website for the more detailed content what we are teaching here. So in conclusion, okay, so after studying all these things, okay, so the scientist arrived at a conclusion. Okay, so the conclusion after extensive survey of animal behavior before a strong earthquake, the group Earthquake Research Institute, okay, so biophysics China has arrived at the following conclusion. One is that most animals show increased restless before an earthquake. Okay, so that was the first conclusion. The precursor time varies from few minutes to several days. This you have to note. Okay, so which increased the restless at 11 hours. So which becomes still more marked about 2 to 3 hours and before an earthquake. So the restless starts about 11 hours before, and it is remarkably high during the 2-3 hours of the before earthquake. In general, precursor time varies. Animal are mostly within 24 hours of this one. So animal behavior should be really it shows that within next 24 hours there is going to be earthquake. So even we have seen when we are talking about the tsunami, I told that Dasavadara movie. So before tsunami going to come, in the movie they show that when the Kamal, okay, the hero Kamal and villain Kamal, both of them are Kamal anyway. So they are fighting towards a bio virus. Okay, so the artificial virus, which also now COVID-19 kind of things, people are afraid if it comes many people will die, those kind of stories built behind that movie. So in that movie when they are fighting actually, they show that lot of birds are flying away from the seashore. Okay, so soon after that scene comes actually, the fighting continue. Then there is another Kamal which is come from Japan. Okay, that fellow basically say a tsunami, because as I told you that tsunami is not a common word in India before 2004. Many people doesn't know what is meant by tsunami, but now anyway even the UG level, PG level and school level kids knowing this tsunami, because there is a portion of the earthquake, okay, introduction about the earthquake is been added in the schools before 8th standard. So that is a very good sign on the education part of the earthquake engineering. So this, okay, so indicates that any unusual animal behavior may happen within 24 hours. Okay, that means if you observe animal behavior unusual now, okay, before next to 24 hours, within that there may be a earthquake. Okay, so this animal behavior increase with the time, the unusual behavior comes very large extent. Okay, maybe 2-3 hours you can expect the earthquake. So these observations have been noticed predominantly in the high intensity epicentral region. This also you should note. So this is basically reported where there is going to be a very big damage or it is epicenter location, that is above the focus point. So the abnormal behavior of animal is observed during earthquake magnitude of 5 and more. So this is also one of, they say that the bigger magnitude better will be the abnormal behavior observation. Okay, that is another thing. So the more intensive response can be noticed with increase in the intensity of the earthquake. Okay, so animals are behave very unusual way. Okay, so that in the bigger earthquake is easy to predict. So this is the basically animal behavior and related research where people have carried out. So you can see that this, with this you can predict a epicenter of the earthquake almost. Okay, so the magnitude maybe if you very closely observe, some extent you can say that this will be a big or moderate technique, but more or less the 5 and above only going to be happen. So it is more or less the magnitude 5 and above is damaging earthquake, people in that area should be cautious. So in this there is another concern. For example, the magnitude of 5 and above is right. So instead of magnitude of 6 should happen, it happens a magnitude of 9.5. For example, Himalayan region, some of the region you can say like that Bihar. Okay, so Bihar is some remote village. So they observed that there is these are all the close to the plate tectonics. No, that's why I am giving as an example. So there was thousands of rat or snakes are start moving from particular area. People are observed. So they thought that okay, so this there is a earthquake going to occur. In the people who are living in that area, there are small villages in those areas. They try to move away from that location. It's a good, those people are only saved. But the Himalaya, as I told you, that it has a potential to cause earthquake magnitude of 8 and above. For example, so the animal behaves after 5 anyway, this one, because the magnitude you don't know exactly like how it is will be. Okay, so instead of happening a small magnitude, the magnitude of 8.5 or 9 happened in the same location. The people in the Lucknow, Kanpur, which is very far from the Bihar, okay, so can also get affected. Around 750 kilometer Indo-Gangetic basin, people get affected, which is also concern, okay, with respect to the location and observation. So how many people you can evacuate, how many people will be affected by this, all those things put a serious concern. If somebody has a knowledge of intensity, isosysmal map, and then which is the function of your magnitude and distance, if somebody predicts that okay, this is the place, this is the expected magnitude of this place, so this is the prediction is happened, okay, this many places people should issue warning. Okay, this many places people should issue a warning so that people can save. So such kind of knowledge comes from the understanding of the earthquake engineering or engineering seismology subject. Okay, this is about the animal behavior. So the next, so the advanced way of predicting earthquake is hydrochemical precursors. So what is the hydrochemical? So the chemical composition of the underground water was observed on a regular basis, seismically active region at 36 and Uzbekistan. Okay, these observations are yield the following good prediction of the earthquake. What they seen that the concentration level of the dissolved minerals, the concentration level of the dissolved minerals and the gaseous component remained almost constant during the seismically inactive period. They found that dissolved minerals and gaseous component in the underground water, okay, is almost similar, okay, during the seismically inactive period. An appropriate increase of the concentration of the dissolved minerals was noticed 2 to 8 days before the earthquake. You can see 2 to 8 days of the earthquake. So, variation in the level of underground water, pressure and artesian water and discharge of water source and temperature underground water are also noticed during this period. So, there is a variation of the dissolved minerals, okay, so before earthquake, and also the variation in the water level of the underground water and the pressure of artesian water. So, the artesian water means from the artesian the water will be pressure coming. No? Those who do not know about the artesian well or artesian water underground water storage, you please Google it and find out and read about that. So, the discharge of water, okay, so water sources, okay, which is naturally come from, we might have seen in the open well and there may be somewhere the water will be falling from the some kind of hole. Those kind of discharges are increasing. The temperature of the water, underground water also increase. So, these are all the noticed before earthquake at a particular place. These variations are large, event, strong earthquake. So, particularly when bigger earthquakes, these are the very good this one. So, after earthquake, this anomalies of the concentration, gases and minerals composition disappear. So, after the earthquakes are occurred, these things are vanishes, okay, it is not appearing. So, according to Indian Meteorological Department, okay, report, significant free disaster and post disaster hydrogeological changes, okay, so rendering a groundwater turbid were observed during the Jabalpur earthquake in Madhya Pradesh 1997. Okay, so they observed, Indian Meteorology Department reported that, so these are all the hydrogeological changes they observed. So, here we need to also emphasize that as we are telling that the earth happens due to the breakage of the crustal rock. So, if you have the crust rock projected at several places at one location, as you know that the earthquake going to occur, that crust rock become a staining, okay, before it breaks it is going to stain heavily. That heavy stain basically induce a fluctuation in the pressure, water level and related chemical, okay. That is why these kind of precursors are observed in those locations. So, that means if the area where the crust rock is not visible or not having the well in the crust rock, this kind of prediction may not help or may not possible. So, this is, if you understand the physics of the earthquake, you can very well relate that this is basically related to the physics of the earthquake, where the crust undergo a deformation before earthquake and before breaking. That deformation causes all these unusual changes, okay, all these changes going to take place. That means it is going to break, okay. So, that is possible only places where there is a crust were exposed or crust were involved in the digging of well, where well are digged in the rock, that rock actually crust rock, okay, not the several layers of soil deposit, then above that some aquifer, all those kind of places it may not happen, okay. So, that is the significant inference and then conclusion derived from this hydrological precursor. This is also very successful. We have seen that in China, apart from animal behavior, they also seen a hydrochemical precursors, okay. So, the another one is temperature change, okay. This is the another thing people use it to predict earthquake. So, there seems to be some relation between the temperature and earthquake. A considerable rise of temperature by 10 degree to 15 degree was reported before earthquake in Langlin in China and then the Perseverance in Russia, okay. So, where they noticed that in that particular area, epicentral area, there is a considerable rise in temperature, okay. So, the epicentral distance of the earthquake were observed, were taken hot spring and well before 10 and 12 kilometer from the precursor period of 40 to 72 days. So, this observation made in the some of the Indian earthquake too, people observed that from the satellite image the temperature and then the chemical composition of the surface changed considerably, okay. So, monitoring of these changes one can inform warning system that this place there may be earthquake, okay. So, again you can see here that this is not related with the size of the earthquake like your other animal behavior, and so here only you can say roughly the area earthquake going to affect, not a magnitude, not a time, Okay, since the 40 to 72 years or 72 days are the very big period, okay, to predict a earthquake. So this temperature rise also observed. This has been used as one of the method to predict a earthquake. There are some people told after earthquake that this is the temperature rise noticed by the satellite image and this period on this location where the earthquake was reported. Okay, that was the things being used for prediction of the earthquake. So the another one is the water level. So we have seen in the hydrochemical process itself water level. So there are a drastic changes in the water level in the several wells just before major earthquake. So there was a fall in water level few days before Nankai earthquake in Japan 1946. Rise of water level by 3 and 4 centimeter, okay, was reported before Langin China, and then the Perskvals Russia, these places the rise of water has been reported. Similar water level rose by 3 centimeter few months before the earthquake in Mekering in Australia. China rise water level in wells was also observed by the Aicheng earthquake, and then the Tanzan earthquake and Ling Kyo Sankian earthquake. So experimental of water level variation have been conducted at Korili Island to predict earthquake of 4 and more on Richter scale. For this purpose, well up to 410 670 meters depth at epicenter up to 700 kilometer are used. This is an effective technique to observing the deformation of the earth crust, the model of which the forecast earthquake base shows that 3 to 10 days before the earthquake the water level begins fall, after short period starts rising when the earthquake strikes. So initially the water goes inside and then it rises again. So this is what even happens in the tsunami. We told that the water recede inside first and then it rises up. So the imbalance caused in the crystal rock, okay, the stress and deformation caused in the crystal rock basically makes this water level to go down and come up. So the continuous monitoring of well water, okay, with whatever that pumping this one and all, if there is a variation, if you have the alert sensor for that, then there could be a possible to predict a earthquake. So as I told you that this entire class we have been copied from different website, we have been taken from different site for the teaching purpose. So you can, I acknowledge here the website which I used for this one. Thank you for them to providing enormous content to teach to the in this subject. So the another way of predicting the earthquake hazard is the radon gases. Okay, so radon gases is actually is a radioactive gas which is discharged from the rock mass prior to the earthquake. So it is dissolved in well water and its concentration of the water increases. So this radon gases, one is that it emits from the open space or in the water also. If there is a radon gas in the water, during the earthquake its concentration increase. Such as an increase was reported in Tashkent 1972, where increasing in the concentration varies from 15 to 200, 15 to 200% was noticed about 3 to 13 days prior to the earthquake. In China, 50 to 70% increase in the radon concentration was reported 18 to 6 days respectively before the Tanzan earthquake and then the Lohu earthquake, and the Langfang and then Guzan station were also located 330 to 200 epicenter distance for the cases. In 1995, correlation the random animals at 4 sites, okay, radon gas and animals, random gas and animals 4 sites in Kangra and the site of Amistar where time Uttarkasi earthquake was also reported. So people reported that there is a this kind of gas variation as well as the animal behavior difference in the Uttarkasi earthquake in 1991 in India. Okay, so this kind of research paper may give the more details, but all these are reported soon after the earthquake, not before the earthquake. That also we have to remember. Okay. Then oil wells, as we have seen that the water wells are very common in the places, most of the places in the world, but the places where the oil is rich, there is no water, like this Gulf countries, oil wells are very common. So the large scale fluctuation of oil flow from the oil wells prior to the earthquake were reported in Israel, northern Caucasus and Europe and China. So these earthquake which occurred in 1969, 1971, okay, so 1972 gave rise in increased flow of the oil before the occurrence. So there was a fluctuation in the oil level and increased water oil levels in the oil wells has been observed, which has been considered as one of the precursor for prediction of the earthquake. So it has been suggested that when the tectonic stress accumulate to a certain level, the pore pressure within the deep oil bearing strata reach breaking strength, causing the oil to sprout along the oil well. So as we have seen that the earth crust moves, okay, as we have seen that the both this is the plate, okay, so it's keep on bending due to the application of the this unusual forces in that. So when it store the energy, okay, these forces are going to close to the strength of the rock, okay, close to the like it is highly stressed, okay, so close to the strength of the rock. So then it going to break. So because before break, because this is stress and strains which may induce basically a deformation, okay, staining level, increase in the pressure. So the force will be different form, it will be reflected around this rock area. So if you have the wells, water wells or oil wells in this also reflected in the water and oil in the well. So when it breaks, basically this there will be changes in the, so there will be changes in the, so this one, okay, so it breaks, then there will be changes. So this kind of fluctuation will basically help you to identify a predict a earthquake. If somebody monitors these things very accurately, very closely, even there is a possibility to predict a magnitude and a location very precisely. The problem is that how many location you watch. For example, if you have to watch the wells in India, so you should have the wells at least some specific intervals like seismometer. All the wells you should have the digital controlled sensor to monitor. That monitoring should be overall done in the country level. Then they will be knowing the fluctuation very immediately, and then they observe and see that okay, this is the fluctuation, earthquake going to occur, they will inform. But the money what you are going to invest on this, okay, will be much larger than the amount of economical saving you do because of the prediction. A number of people die because of this prediction. Okay, that is what this kind of things are the not implemented, even though the scientifically which is possible, but because of the amount of money need to be invested to monitor all these things. As you know that the putting the sensor in the water also causes a lot of uncertainty. Okay. So putting the water in the sensor also causes a lot of uncertainties, and it also makes more expensive. Okay. So that is why the well monitoring, radon gas, water level, oil level changes are, even though scientifically which is correct, but practically it is not possible to implement. Okay. So because the cost will go very high. Okay. The economic loss, even the earthquake comes, what you are offering will be 100 times or 1000 times lower than the cost to incur to predict that will be. Okay. So that is the reason this kind of technology, even though well understood and applicable and possible, but since the cost associated with are very large, many of the countries not doing this kind of monitoring. Okay. Only they report soon after the earthquake from some data, that is the usual way they do. So this is about the crust rock deformation and associated link between the chemical variation, water variation, temperature variation, oil variation, apart from unusual animal behavior in that region. So these are all the well together. If you do everything, there is a possibility to predict very accurately earthquake, but you have to invest large amount of the money. Okay, that is the one main concern with respect to prediction of earthquake using all this technique. That is why none of the governments are very keen on investing this kind of monitoring. As per my knowledge, I don't think India anybody monitors all these wells for predicting earthquake, because even though we have several places the crustal rock appearing in the ground, as I told you that Bangalore, the Lalbagh rock, IIC rocks are the crustal rock which is connected to the plates. So the deformation in that obviously will help you to predict a earthquake, like a fluctuation in the water level, fluctuation in the radon gas. Okay, so all those things, hydrochemical process involved. If somebody keep on monitoring, they observe a variation, immediately they can issue a warning and this one. But the monitoring is very expensive, nobody does. Okay, so with this discussion, we will close this lecture. So we will continue in the earthquake prediction lectures in the next class. Thank you very much for watching this video. We look forward your participation in the next class. Thank you.